You're over 40, still fighting the same battles in silence. The unfinished projects, scattered thoughts, shame that whispers. You should have had it together by now. But here's the truth. You don't need more discipline. You just need a different kind of direction. You're not broken. You're built different. And for 7 days, from November 3rd to November 9th, you're going to prove it. This isn't just motivation. This is reclamation. 90 minutes a day to stop hiding behind the mask. Just put it away forever and walk away a different man. The Reclaim Your Voice Challenge. Your next level doesn't come from doing more. It comes from finally being more of you. Visit youradhdguy.com for more information. It's time for that change you've been waiting for.
So you can't teach somebody who's neurodiverse to be neurotypical.
Yeah.
It takes a different approach. So I just realized that I didn't really align to a lot of the social media content out there about ADHD. And I thought, okay, let's talk about it from my perspective. The things I've learned in the therapy chair, I've seen the incredible shifts that my clients have had through being in all of the distress and the trauma of being ADHD, we recognize, we associate with it, to actually thriving. And I mean, a lot of my clients have made big changes in their life. They've actually stepped out of a career and created their own business. They've actually changed their job to be more aligned. They might have changed relationships as well. But I see the result people get. So I just want to share that. I want to talk about it. I want everybody to know that, you know, you don't have to be in the trauma of being ADHD. You don't have to hold yourself back anymore. You don't have to try and fit in anymore, because it's only going to create more and more resistance. You don't have to medicate. You don't have to take ADHD medication if you don't want to. A lot of people don't. A lot of people would prefer not to, because everything has a side effect, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the driver.
This is Don't Mind Me, I Just Have ADHD. But let's be real. ADHD doesn't just mean forgetfulness or fidgeting. It's meant being labeled, masking, performing just to survive in a system that wasn't designed with us in mind. The podcast isn't about fixing you. It's about unlearning the shame you were handed down. Here we talk about ADHD, trauma, addiction, depression, healing, identity. All the messy things that make us human in our life and work. And we do it with fierce kindness. I'm Ron Souers, your ADHD guy. And if you've ever felt like you had to earn your worth, if you ever struggled to slow down, speak up, or show up without a mask, welcome. You're not too much. You were never broken. And now you're waking up. Let's remember who we are together. I want to help you see what you were always meant to be. Hey, friends, welcome back. It's Ron here, your ADHD guy. And what you're about to hear isn't just a conversation, it's a mirror. Today, I sit down with Christopher Marsh, someone who went from leading an IT department to leading people through deep subconscious healing as a hypnotherapist. But what makes his story remarkable isn't the career change. It's what's forced it. Like so many of us, Christopher hit a wall in his 30s, burned out, disconnected, high functioning on the outside, but unraveling within. It wasn't until he uncovered his undiagnosed ADHD, hidden since childhood, that everything started to make sense. This episode is about that kind of transformation. Together, we'll uncover why your people pleasing, your imposter syndrome, your overwhelm aren't just flaws. They're protective codes written long ago to keep you safe. But here's the kicker: what kept you safe might now be holding you back. If you've ever felt like your brain is working against you, this conversation might be just the breakthrough you didn't know you needed. And I have a gift for you, but I'm only sharing it at the very end of this episode. So please stay with me. Because what if the feeling you're carrying isn't yours to carry anymore? Let's explore that now. Hey, welcome, guys. I'm here with Chris Marsh. He's a analytical therapist, all the way hailing from the UK. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Great to be here.
That's awesome. So, before we get started, what's one of the, how did you get involved with, um, therapy?
Yeah, well, yeah, through my own journey through mental health, to be honest. So, my old career was in software, in IT. So, um, I would have said before I understood what mental health really was.
Yeah.
I would have said I started to struggle with my mental health in my early 30s. But that's really where it got to a point where it started to really impact on my life massively. The reality is when I learned and understood about anxiety and stress and mental health, that it started as a child. I remember being anxious and struggling with anxiety and depression as a 7-year-old. That's about the time my parents split up. But I
Hmm.
was always labelled as a kid a worrier. Oh, Chris has got the weight of the world on his shoulders. Chris is always
Yeah.
worrying. But reality was obviously I was struggling with stress and anxiety even back then. So through my own journey, through trying to resolve my own mental health issues, I saw my mum use medication. She'd take big chunks of time off work, struggling with her stress and anxiety. I've seen my brother use medication again and not really get anywhere. So I thought, right, there must be an answer. There must be a way to solve this without taking medication, without it really
Hmm.
impacting on my career. So I went to the doctor. Right, this is what I'm struggling with. Right, this is what I don't want. What have you got for me? And he was like, well, Mr. Marsh, not a lot. I went down the counselling route. I had multiple rounds of counselling and thought, right, yeah, this isn't really going to help too much. Talking's cathartic, but there must be something else. So I just consumed anything I could. I started reading psychology books. I started listening to podcasts. I started to research on the internet. I started to look for any kind of healing modality that could help. So, I tried
Hmm.
all the holistic stuff, acupuncture, Reiki, that started the spiritual journey, um, all the kind of different types of therapy that I could find. And that's what eventually led me to what I practice now, analytical hypnotherapy. So
Yeah.
that is what changed my life. I started learning it even before I did therapy. When I met my mentor, I knew this was the thing that would resolve
Hmm.
it just based on his testimonies and the outcomes he was getting. And yeah, literally, as soon as I finished learning the therapy, finished the therapy, I was like, right, yeah, I need to get into this. I need to do this now. And quit the old day job. Just threw myself into it. And that was
Yeah.
4 years ago. I left the old day job and went full
Awesome.
time with my therapy career, and then never looked back since. Basically.
Yeah. What's the use in looking back, right? Um, that's awesome.
100%, 100%. I mean, I do tell people, I say that when I quit the old day job, I was basically a head of department running a software development team. So I had a big team, 65 people working for me, and they recruited internally. So you don't want the old boss hanging around when the new one starts. So I was put on gardening leave, which was amazing. I got full pay for 4 months and didn't have to actually do anything really, with just some handover stuff. So it meant I could just throw myself into my new business. And then I remember going back to hand in the laptop and the phones, and this is just after COVID, so not a lot of people were in the office. I remember sat there thinking, if somebody jumped out now and said, "Chris, it's all been a joke. You've got to do that job again," I'd have chucked myself out the window and I'd ran like Forrest Gump and not stopped.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine it, and I couldn't imagine doing a day job now. It's been an incredible journey. Um, but of course, alongside all of that, was undiagnosed ADHD. So,
Yeah.
through all this mental health journey, I thought there was something that was broken that needed fixing. But actually, ADHD was massively at play in the background without me realizing. And the ADHD diagnosis, that was about 2.5 years ago now.
Wow.
And again, another life changing moment, really, a life defining moment, because for me, that was a revelation. That was a bit of a life flashing before my mind moment of,
Hmm.
ah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm not broken. It's just my mind looks different. And even back to my first week of proper school at 5, I remember having this situation where I was asked to do something. I did it in what I thought I was supposed to do, and the teacher came over, put a big red cross through it, red pen. No, no, you did it wrong. Do it again. She didn't actually explain what I'd done wrong, so I literally just did it again. No, 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 big red cross. Shouting, screamed at me, made me sit in the corner until the
Wow.
end of the day, put me in detention. I mean, at the time, I remember thinking that was a bit weird, bit of a overreaction. But now I'm like, I just didn't understand what she was trying to tell me to do. She wasn't
Yeah.
teaching me in the way that fit my learning style. So there's multiple experiences then through the rest of my life that suddenly helped me understand. But of course, I found this after having therapy. Um, so I dealt with a lot of those traumas, if you like. But that was a revelation for me, a revelation. So that's why now I specialize and focus on ADHD and neurodiversity. I've been around autism all my life as well. Um, so it was a
Interesting.
natural focus for my therapy.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure that was a bit traumatic, just having your teacher give you a red cross to, and like with no
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
explanation, in front of
But
everybody.
100%. But this is what everybody's neurodiverse experiences, whether ADHD or autistic, and this is what people don't really understand around ADHD is that we all suffer the trauma of being ADHD. So
Yeah.
we're compared to somebody else's measures of success. So if you're ADHD, your learning style will be kinesthetic. You learn through doing, closely followed by audible, but read, write,
Hmm.
regurgitate be really low on the list. So dyslexia and ADHD go hand in hand to some degree. I've never been diagnosed dyslexic, but I used to have to follow the words of my finger when I used to read at school, even as a
Hmm.
teenager, because they just jumble up otherwise. Um, but yeah, that example I had, that's what ADHD kids experience every day, because not been taught in the right way. So we've been told that we're not getting it, we're not understanding, we're too disruptive, we're daydream too much, we're too sensitive, too emotional, and always left feeling like we're not good enough because they only
Yeah.
teach you in one way. They have one measure of success: how well you can read, regurgitate facts. That's it. So they don't celebrate logical reasoning, problem solving. Um, you don't celebrate, communication, and they don't celebrate that kind of fast context switching mind we have. The creativity, everybody with
Yeah.
ADHD is a very creative thinker, an analytical thinker. They're not celebrated. There's not really a way for us to shine often in the school environment. So um,
Yeah.
that's why therapy is such an important tool for people struggling with their ADHD.
Yeah, I know it has helped me to, see myself in a different way,
Mm,
to manage it. It's given me tools and I continue to use therapy, not as much as I did in the beginning. Um, but yeah, I love the fact that you brought that up. It must have
mm.
been, very difficult for you to like transition between, to get from your day job to the
Yeah.
therapy. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't in a way. So initially, it was. So when I first had this thought of like, right, I want to get out of this software career and I want to get into therapy. So I initially started to think, right, I'm gonna have to find a degree. I'm gonna have to do a degree in psychotherapy, psychology, counseling,
Mm.
something like that. So I started to research that. I started to think, okay, I earn really good money, right? Don't get me wrong. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to make up a bit of a gap. So I'm going to have some passive income or something else to earn income while I'm
Yeah.
doing this degree. I need to be able to live. I've got young kids at the time. So it's a bit of a kind of overwhelm, really, of thinking, how can I make this transition? And like most people, I think this is a massive problem. It's like you kind of where you want to get to, but you just can't see the journey of A to B. Now,
Hmm.
my old career was all about taking an idea into reality. So I had a bit of a head start from most people because
Yeah.
I was trained to kind of work out the transitional states and the different milestones and break it down to small steps to get to my goal. So I did focus around that, um, but along my journey, I just met various people that kind of helped that goal shift a little bit and pivot to the right thing. So one of the people I met was somebody who did some training for my old team. He's a sports psychologist called Ken Ray in the UK, but he's a career psychotherapist. So right, I need to speak to Ken and get some advice on what degrees I do or where I go, how I follow this path. And he said, first, forget doing a degree, waste of time. Focus on hypnotherapy. That's the thing that will really make a difference. I thought, wow,
Hmm.
if career psychotherapists are saying that, then that's definitely something to pursue. He said that NLP is great. That's fantastic. You can do that alongside it. You can do coaching to whatever, but hypnotherapy is the thing that really makes a difference. Um, so then, not long after that, I met my mentor, who I trained with, and it's like the initial goal of thinking I needed to degree was enough just to set me on that path, on that journey.
Yeah.
But then I just met the right people along that journey that enabled me to shift to a different target outcome. And this is the key thing with people who allow for being ADHD is that, well, mine's working in a different way. We don't work in bureaucratic plans. We don't work in a bureaucratic way. We need adhocracy, not bureaucracy. So adhocracy, and it's amazing that the first three letters of adhocracy are ADH, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's about having a general path of direction with some freedom to turn within it, move within it, pivot within it, right? Um, so it was literally that as soon as I'd had that therapy, that was a thing that just flicked a switch. So I mean, at the time I was going through the therapy, I'm looking to move up into director level. I'm looking for mentors and exec recruiters and stuff like this, and just switch went off in my head. Going through the therapy, I'm like, what am I doing? That's a waste of time. That's going to take me further away from the goal. Just focus on doing the therapy now. And I'm a firm believer that when you put your thoughts in the right place and you focus on your passions, you can't fail. And I think I probably had about a 2-year plan at the point at which I did quit my old day job, but some things aligned. I got a new boss that I didn't really see eye to eye with. So I have to thank him because that pushed me into leaving earlier probably than I would have done otherwise.
Yeah.
So sold my house, got some cash in the bank. I thought, right, worst case scenario, I can survive for 6 months on the same lifestyle I had, and I can just get another job if I fail. But the therapy let me go of any fears I would have had of doing that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to do it without the therapy, I'm sure. Um, and then again, just compassion about it. I never stopped learning, I never stopped reading, I never stopped. I don't read, I listen to audiobooks to be fair, but I never stopped consuming information.
Yeah.
And that's what made that transition easy for me.
Yeah, that love of learning is huge, and you talked about that creativity that we don't really like. Creativity doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're like an artist or you're a
Oh,
musician,
100%. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a lot of people get that. It just could be like you creative problem solving, like you thought of things in
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
way that other
Yeah.
people didn't. So with
Yeah.
hypnotherapy, like what drew you to that? Like what is something that, because I've had some experience with that, and it's
Mm.
it's definitely been, helpful. What's your
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I start through learning about how the mind works and learning about the subconscious, just lots of the different kind of books. I was just consuming book after book on Audible.
Yeah.
Those 2 hours commuting in the car to work, great time just to smash an audio book or traveling to see clients for 4 hours in the car. Again, put an audio book on. And I just started to understand and learn about the subconscious mind and the physiology of how the subconscious is always trying to protect. It's basically reacting the same way in emotional distress as it does in real danger. It creates a fear and a reaction to protect you from the
Yeah.
future. So I'm like, right, okay, hang on, this is interesting, this is amazing. So it really, really helped me understand it. And then when hypnotherapy was suggested, or okay, I'll start researching that a bit more.
Mhm.
I'll start looking into it a bit deeper. I suddenly thought, right, now I see why that works. Quite in the conscious mind, allow us to work directly with the subconscious. So, been a been a software guy all my life. It made sense to me. So, the subconscious to me was just like a computer full of programs.
Yeah.
And there were some programs that we want, some things that we need. All the things we do without thinking about
Mm.
it are just subconscious programs. So you learn how to drive. When you first
Yeah.
start to learn how to drive, you've got to think about we tend to have more automatics in the US, but gear change, every indicator, every turn of the wheel, you have to really consciously think about it. But then it turns into a subconscious program that you do without thinking about it. But it obviously governs all of our safety mechanisms that are then yanking us back to safety whenever we're in perceived danger. So, yeah, one thing I always explain to my clients is that this starts in early childhood. When we're young, conscious mind's not developed enough to protect us, so the subconscious soaks everything up around it. So, if you're 3 or 4 years old and you're singing, dancing, whatever you feel comfortable, and somebody says, "Ron, what you're doing, you look stupid, and you sound awful," it could be a sibling, a parent. You're going to feel unsafe, so you're going to subconscious will react and go, "Right, don't like that. Let's avoid that." So the next time you get to sing and dance, suddenly you're going to moderate your behavior. Now you've got a fear of rejection, a fear of criticism, a fear of judgment.
Yeah.
And then once a fear is created, it's never cancelled. And every time it gets triggered, it gets pushed up in strength a little bit.
Mm.
And then we might have big things happen, a bit of bullying at school, catapults that fear forward very quickly to a stronger level. Other events happening, it could be parents having their own issues, it could be illnesses, injuries, and stuff like that. You or in the family, or teenagers kick in, more bullying, self-image, girls kick in. So again, it's pushing up this fear. So it could turn out to be maybe it'll develop as a fear of failure, right? So in your career, you avoid any kind of progression, avoid any kind of promotion because you're not going to fail anyway. Why bother? Or what I did, I turned into
Mm.
the people pleaser. Imposter syndrome kicked in, thinking everybody's better than me. I've got to work harder, longer, push myself harder. Very, very common with ADHD, by the way. 99% of people I've worked with ADHD got huge people pleasing imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And because I've always made to
Definitely.
feel not good enough, that fear of rejection, we call it RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Reality, it's just that fear of rejection has gone to a massive uh,
Mm.
extremity, really. So we all suffer an element of PTSD in that way.
Yeah.
PTSD is just the fears of being escalated to a super elevated level because they never come back down in strength. That's why, guys, girls come out of the armed forces and they're walking down the street, hear something, see something, smell something, triggers that fear, takes them all the way back to that same level they're at that was in.
Yeah.
Same for all of us. We just not quite got to that level for a lot of us, but that's what's playing out. It's a simple process that creates a complex mess behind it. So,
Mm.
and what happens is like mainstream medical pathologize it, and they pathologize ADHD. So they make you feel like it's a physical defect. So it's creating physical defects in terms of the results of stress, anxiety, depression are creating this brain physiology, this brain chemistry. But the root cause is the software. You
Yeah.
fix the software, you fix the software programs that work, and the physiology corrects itself,
Mm.
essentially. And obviously, that's
Interesting.
what mainstream does with antidepressants, SSRIs. They're trying to fix the symptoms, fix the brain chemistry
Yeah.
with pills, but if you remove the root causes, it corrects itself, essentially. So that's what I do in a nutshell. That's the process I use in a nutshell.
Nice. Yeah, that definitely I love that, connection that you made with software. Like it's your programming and you're
Yeah.
kind of getting into that. And There's a lot of stuff that I'm, learning myself, especially from Dr. Gabor Mate, talking about how,
Love Gabon Mate. Yeah, I love Gabon Mate. I mean, he for me was the first person that helped me understand the connection between ADHD and trauma.
yeah,
The Scattered Minds book is fantastic, and there's a guy called Tom Hartman. He wrote a book about ADHD that basically talks about the ADHD physiology being the hunter-gatherer mindset, and versus a neurotypical mindset being a farming mindset.
yeah,
So that was another fantastic book that really helped me understand the physiology side of ADHD, the genetic side of it. You think about a hunter, they're wired for instincts. They're wired for fast context switching. They're um, wired for being super alert because they're going to have to be, right. But they're also wired for empathy. They're wired for
mhm,
sensitivity because if you're going out hunting for the tribe,
yeah,
you've got to be sensitive to put that effort in to help other people survive, right?
yeah,
So again, it all kind of makes sense when you understand that. So Tom Hartman's books are fantastic. He's done quite a few, but there's one that talks about the hunter-gatherer mindset, and there's one that talks about how to survive in a corporate world being ADHD, which is fascinating too. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I'm a firm believer that ADHD is just that hunter-gatherer physiology, mindset. It's where your brain is wired, if you like. But what we really struggle with is the trauma of being ADHD. It's like being left-handed and forced to use your right hand all your life.
yeah,
Everything just don't
yeah,
quite feel right. I don't know if this happened in the US, but back in the 70s, 80s in the UK, often they'd make left-handed kids sit in their left hand and force them to use the right hand
mm,
to make them
crazy.
use the right hand. But that's what they're doing with university still in this day and age. They're still teaching in exactly the same way they did 100 years ago. It's just not fit for purpose anymore, essentially.
So yeah, speaking of that, do you think um that the perception of ADHD in the UK has changed or progressed, or what is your
Yeah, great
feelings about
question.
that?
So yeah, no, it has. It has, to be fair. It really has. And social media has really helped with that. And people like Gabon Mate and Tom Hartman. And so, in the UK, there's been a huge jump in the amount of people seeking ADHD diagnosis and looking for
Hmm.
support and help with that. And so, people talk about, oh, it's on a massive increase, and they'll accuse people of being on the bandwagon, and there's a lot of negativity around it because of that. But it's not actually on the increase. It's just the visibility and the standing is getting better. But
Yeah,
really, it's the environment we're in has changed so much. It has become so much more complicated. For that hunter-gatherer mindset, it's just creating much more resistance. So, when
yeah,
you're wired for interest, intrigue, when you're wired for dopamine, as a hunter needs to be, then these are a bit of a problem. Social media is a bit of a problem. Gaming is a bit of a problem,
yeah,
because it's really tapping into the things that create the fascination and interest in that hunter-gatherer mindset. Um, when I look back in my family line, so I 100% believe ADHD is 100% hereditary. It's a great research that's starting to really show that. So it can vary between 80 and 95% in different studies that you look at, but I believe it's 100%, because it's that genetic predisposition to be in the hunter mindset, right? But
yeah.
I can see it in my brother. He denies it still, but while denying it, he does explain to me at the same time he's ADHD. I see it in my dad. My dad's had an incredible, bonkers, crazy life. And suddenly I'm like, okay, undiagnosed ADHD makes a lot of sense for that. But on the back of my grandparents, I'm like, what about my grandparents? It's harder to see. It's harder to kind of notice. But my granddad worked in coal mines from being 14 years old.
Yeah.
So that environment suits ADHD. You've got to be hyper vigilant, right?
Mhm.
Down in mine in the 50s, it's a good chance you get your head lopped off.
Yeah.
Seriously injured. So you've got to be on edge. You've got to be hyper vigilant. You've got to be sensitive. You've got to look out for your buddies. Um, and uh, And outside of work, my granddad had the biggest veg patch in the whole town. He used to like cut out like paper planes from cardboard and make them all by hand. I'm like, these are little obsessions that give clues
Yeah.
to a neurodiverse mindset for sure.
Wow.
So you can see that the environment is just getting more and more complicated. All these constant pressures we have in modern life, this constant like stream of things we can distract ourselves, like constant access to all the TV you can imagine, gaming, streaming, like
Yeah.
phones, social media. We've got more
Overwhelming.
on here than you can ever imagine. So, yeah, I mean, like, my stepdaughter's ADHD and autistic, and she just wants to watch reels all the time. It's like, no, you can watch half an hour. It's like crack cocaine to her. It's just like wants to watch reels all day. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god. And my kids are massive gamers. That's their social life, right? It is online, but
Yeah.
it's not a good thing for ADHD. We should be outside, running around, climbing trees, exploring and learning, learning that way, right? So that's what's happening in society for me in ADHD, and yeah, awareness is getting much better, and that's my kind of passion now. Really, is to help educate and help people get the understanding of, from a therapeutic perspective, the things I learned in the therapy chair through people's experiences, and help them understand that it doesn't need to be pathologized. You can get some benefit from ADHD medication. If you're in the type of job that needs that focus and that kind of diligent way of working, then yes, that can really help. But personally, get the right therapy and create the right environment that suits your physiology,
Yeah.
then you won't have the problems. So, I mean, if you think about what jobs would suit hunter-gatherer mindset, right? So, it's like police force, armed services, sales, all good sales guys are hunter-gatherers, right? They have to
Yeah.
be. So, it's like look for the right environment that suits your physiology is a massive help.
And like you said before, surviving the corporate world was like, it's surviving it. I don't think that
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah,
designed to be part of that corporate world. I think,
yeah,
I've done a
yeah,
podcast about how I feel like having your own business is, if you can
yeah.
develop the strategies, you can
Mm,
definitely thrive, and it
yeah,
suits you
yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah. 100% agree with that. Um, it's fascinating, really, that when you look at all the best entrepreneurs in the world, most of them are neurodiverse.
I know.
Um,
And it,
and
and it and it goes against that whole thing where like if 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 they're broken, how can they be that successful?
yeah,
And
100%.
honestly,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that are successful that have ADHD and have this platform to be able to talk about it, and yet it's crickets. And like what I was saying, what I wanted to ask you is like with that social media was like, what made you, because I met you on TikTok
yeah.
of all places. What made you become like more social, like when it comes to speaking out about it?
Yeah, yeah, no, great question. Um, so one of the big traits that most people who are neurodiverse have is this huge like sense of injustice for anybody
Hmm.
that's not treated incorrectly. Now, mixed with this is we're all very passionate about the things that we love,
Yeah,
and so I'm passionate about ADHD. I'm passionate about healing people, and even before I found out about my ADHD, I would have said probably nearly 50% of people that came through my door were ADHD. Like attracts like, right? So when people
yeah,
react how we would do first and foremost, any situation makes us feel safe. So of course, anybody's ADHD is going to think, yeah, Chris gets me. um, and so yeah, it was just that passion really. And then when I look at a lot of social media posts about ADHD, often I'll read stuff by ADHD coaches, and this book. This is a manual about how to be neurotypical. So you can't teach somebody who's neurodiverse to be neurotypical.
Yeah.
It takes a different approach. So I just realized that I didn't really align to a lot of the social media content out there about ADHD. And I thought, okay, let's talk about it from my perspective. The things I've learned in the therapy chair, I've seen the incredible shifts that my clients have had through
Mhm.
being in all of the distress and the trauma of being ADHD. We recognize, we associate with it, to actually thriving. And I mean, a lot of my clients have made big changes in their life. They've actually stepped out of a career and created their own business. They've actually
Nice.
changed their job to be more aligned. They might have changed relationships as well. Um, but I see the result people get. So I just want to share that. I want to talk about it. I want everybody to know that, you don't have to be in the trauma of being ADHD. You don't have to hold yourself back anymore. You don't have to try and fit in anymore because it's only going to create more and more resistance. You don't have to medicate. You don't have to take ADHD medication if you don't want to. A lot of people don't. A lot of people would prefer not to because everything has a side effect, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the driver for it. And I just started talking and just getting more and more engagement, interaction, and a couple of videos really blew up. And I thought, okay, right, I'm hitting the mark now. Um, so yeah, it's just like anybody who is ADHD, we will put all of our energy into our passions.
Yeah.
And that is my passion. I believe everybody deserves a chance. I believe everybody can become the best version of themselves. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something that they want to give back to the world. And so that's my driver, is to help people do that.
Yeah, because and I've found that passion as well, and it's like
Yeah,
I understand, like I've always been sensitive. I've always used to try to not be as sensitive,
yeah.
and
It's like a
honestly,
condition,
it's
right?
it's a strength,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that justice versus injustice. So it's one of the biggest obstacles to justice is apathy.
yeah,
It's just being okay, staying silent. That's why I like coach guys how to become more pro-social
yeah,
because we need to be able to speak up for what we need,
yeah,
in whatever environment, whether you're on a platform talking about ADHD or whether you're at your job, advocating for accommodations or just
yeah.
saying like it's okay to be different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, 100%. And it's okay to not be okay as well. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay to be
as
sad.
guys, yeah, I mean, as guys, we all subject to the same kind of social conditioning. No where you are in the world, it's like you've got to be the tough guy, you've got to be the macho guy. You got to just pick yourself up and keep going, keep going, keep going. We don't show emotion, we don't show weakness, we don't um, show how we really feel, and that conditioning just starts at a young age. I mean, you remember when you learn how to ride a bike, like you fall off your bike, you hurt yourself, you cry, and it's like pick yourself up, dry your eyes, get back on that bike, and keep going again.
Yeah.
Um, and that just happens all the way through our lives in every situation. But of course, then we do that with our emotions, um, and actually, no, it's not. It's not okay. Just keep going and keep going and keep going. Stop. Speak to somebody. Get help. I don't know if it crept into the US, but we had this whole kind of weird social thing happen called keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, there's a
It,
little bit of that here.
yeah,
We
and
got
so
t-shirts.
so that was just prolific after COVID, and it's the most toxic thing that's happened in our
Oh
society
yeah.
in recent years. It's like, no, don't get calm, don't carry on, stop and get help. That's what it should have been. That's
Yeah.
what it should have been.
No, stop and like if you feel sad, feel sad. If you got to cry, cry. If you get angry, that's a sign telling you that something's wrong,
Yeah, exactly,
but you got to
exactly.
kind of take a look at that anger and be like, well, is this something that I really should be getting angry about? Or maybe talk to
Yeah, yeah,
somebody that
yeah,
you trust about it. But
yeah.
instead, we're just
100%.
bottling all that stuff up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and that gets stuck in the body.
yeah,
Emotions go into the body physically. So I'm a firm believer all physical elements start in the mind, from an emotional start point. So, it gets trapped in the body. It goes into the body. It creates dis-ease, clues in the name, right? I mean, I've had clients we've been
Mm.
able to trace back like the root of like back pains, hip pains, prolapsed discs, cancers, all.
Yeah.
We talk to subconscious and take us back to the original start point, the start of that process, and why it was created. Incredible stuff, really. Um, but yeah, it's all about feeling safe, really, to be vulnerable, and that's what we want to create in the world. Is that safety? Man,
Mhm.
I've had like I had a guy who was a professional rugby player, so rugby is like our version of American football. If you like, we don't wear pads and helmets here. Uh, and this guy had a 20-year career playing, high end rugby, top flight rugby, and he bawled his eyes out for 8 weeks in that chair. He'd never been allowed to do that. He had five rugby
Wow.
playing
Yeah.
brothers who all played at a professional level, um, and it was just stuck in his body. It just came out. It's just he couldn't stop it once it started. It's because it's been
Mm.
held in for
That's
so
great.
long. It was a beautiful thing that he allowed that. He felt vulnerable enough, allowed himself to be vulnerable enough for that. But yeah, it's really important. Talk to your friends, talk to your buddies, talk to your family, anybody who's happy to listen. And you talk to somebody, they might be struggling with the same thing. It's about normalizing, talking about feelings, normalizing. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's not just guys, girls too.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're brought up in tough environments. It's no different. And there's always somebody that's struggling with something. And if you start that process of normalizing talking about your issues, your feelings, your emotions, then it'll just filter out, you know?
Yeah. It's therapeutic and
Uh,
healing, So yeah, I've actually been dealing, with some sadness this, past week, and
mm,
it's just been something that's been held inside of me, um,
yeah.
that I've haven't allowed myself to actually feel it, and the
Yeah.
struggle is just it's I want to be like I want to be positive, or this is, you should think of something else and get out of this feeling as quickly. So I'm battling my brain at the
Yeah.
same time, and I want to cry because it's like it gets it out, and there's so much, and
Uh,
I'm like trying my best to do that, but it's
yeah.
like every time I get to the point of crying, it's like nope, we're not gonna, like, my brain has been, that trauma from crying, is like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
pulling
Yeah.
me back.
100%. Yeah, and that's a great example of how the subconscious is designed to be stronger, more dominant than your conscious mind because it's a safety mechanism. So it always
Yeah.
yank you back to safety when it needs to. So at that critical moment, the subconscious went, "Nope, it's not safe, Ron. It's not safe to be vulnerable. It's not safe to allow that emotion out.
Yeah.
Bring you back to safety." Yeah, and do you know? I mean, this is the interesting thing. You go back to the physiology of mental health. Like anxiety and depression go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. It's like a natural flow from one to the other. So if you think about when you're in physical danger, you've had to physically exert yourself, run away or fight, whatever it might be. And so you need to physically recover. But the subconscious does the same with the mind. So it pushes you as far in your comfort zone as possible to recover. And depression can be as simple as snoozing the alarm 3 times, not wanting to get out of bed. It could be on a
Yeah.
weekend, not wanting to go out and see your friends because you think, oh, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to sit and watch TV and eat chocolates and drink beer, whatever. That's just depression as well. It can be, just not wanting to get out of the house, wanting to do the things you love even. It's the subconscious saying, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe. And the more that comfort zone shrinks, the harder it is to get out of it. You've got to keep pushing yourself out of it to grow it or maintain it. But the more it shrinks, the more you'll struggle. And that's what depression is when people get to the extremity of that. It's just a subconscious saying, stay safe, stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. And I, in that process of allowing that sadness to come up, there was like some anger
Mm,
in there, and like it
yeah,
was like drawing up all these things and clearing
yeah.
this space for memory. So do you have any like suggestions on like how somebody could cry if they're like
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah. Great question. So when you start to get any kind of negative feeling coming up. So it could be anxiety, it could be stress, it could be a depressed feeling, an emotional feeling coming up. What we naturally try and do is we try and shut it off because
Yeah.
we don't want to go there. We don't want to face that fear, that trauma, that negative memory, that feeling, because that feeling is an echo from a past trauma.
Hmm.
But we lose sight of the connections over time. We don't really know that this random experience as a child created that feeling we have now. But um, really, the key thing I think initially is just to acknowledge that and just say, right, what is it? Is it a feeling? Is it emotion? Is it a thought? Is it a memory? And then think about, well, where am I feeling it in my body? Is it my chest, my throat, my head, my stomach,
Hmm.
somewhere else? And by acknowledging and labeling that feeling, the key thing is then to allow it. So you're kind of taking away some of the energy from it by signposting it, labeling it, feeling it in your body, and then essentially you kind of let it flow through.
Yeah.
The best way I can describe it, so you just go, right, I surrender to it, I allow it. I'm going to allow that feeling to come through my body. And you might start to get a little memory flash come up. You might get a little thought of an experience that's connected to it.
Hmm.
And the more you can kind of just allow that connect into it, then the more it will flow. One of the things that we teach with our shamanic retreats is that we teach people to do that, but then use their voice to release it. So when you can connect into it in your body, essentially take a big deep breath into wherever you feel it. It could be your chest or your stomach
Yeah.
or hips or somewhere else. And then basically just make whatever noise instinctively you want to make. It could be a shout, a growl, a scream, a combination of things. And you just
Yeah.
really use your voice until you can't anymore, until it's all gone. So
Yeah.
what that does, your subconscious feels that you're taking action on that negative feelings. It allows you to get it out of the body. So it's energetic as well as physical,
Yeah.
a big walking salt battery. So, that energy gets stuck in the body as well. So just allows you to kind of process that a little bit. But you might start to get those little connections to memories, to root causes when you really allow
Yeah.
it to come through the body. I mean, it's interesting that autistic kids show us how to do this. So when autistic kids have meltdowns or
Yeah.
tantrums or whatever language you want to use to describe it, essentially what's happened is that a lot of autistic kids struggle to express and show and get that emotion out. So it just builds up. It's like a pressure building up, and eventually it's going to go pop. And often it's a little thing that pushes them over the edge. What autistic kids do is they go and hide away. They shut themselves away, and they won't let you near them until that feeling's gone, until they've processed it, and
Hmm.
then they'll come to you when they're ready. So we should all kind of allow ourselves to do this. So what's happened in society is we've learned to just shut off and disconnect it instead
Yeah.
of feeling, experiencing it, allowing it to come through
Yeah.
the body. And if you allow that, you tap into it, you tap into where it is in your body, and then use whatever intuitive thing you want to do to remove it. That, again, it could be using your voice, it could be movement, dance, um,
Hmm.
anything really to allow that energy to pass through the body is really, really therapeutic. And you watch the Animal Kingdom. The clues are in the Animal Kingdom. So when you
Hmm.
see a cat scrapping, afterwards they'll shake the body out, they'll shake it. You're doing
Yeah.
a somatic release of that stress, right? So movement's really powerful too to shift that energy. That's why yoga is great.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, unfortunately, we've kind of run out of time. I could talk to you about this for all day. But
I quite happily talk forever. um,
so how can people connect with you if they like what they hear?
yeah, brilliant. So my website is www.developlink.com. That's develop link, all one word. So you can follow me on TikTok through via Develop Link, Instagram Develop Link UK, Facebook Develop Link UK. But yeah, no, I do free consultations. So if you're curious about how I work and think it aligns with you, then you can book a consultation via my website or drop me a message, and we can have a chat.
Awesome.
Um, so yeah, TikTok's where I talk most about ADHD. So head on over there and have a look.
Yeah, he's got some great insights, some great videos that you can definitely check out
Thank you.
and
Appreciate that.
comment on, and he responds to them. He's responded
Every
to
single
me.
one. Good or bad, I respond to it. I've had a few ongoing interactions with people that like to disagree, but yeah, I mean, I'm open to any new ideas, so more than happy to be challenged, uh,
Yeah,
and I'll
yeah.
always look into stuff. If somebody suggests stuff, I'll always look and research it.
So that's the only way we grow, right?
Yeah,
Do you
100%.
have any
100%.
books that
No,
you
not
might
yet, not
recommend?
yet. I'm working on a book at the moment. Actually, it might be a while off, but I'm working on looking at how ancestral healing and ancestral trauma link with ADHD, and how our
Nice.
parents' experiences of undiagnosed ADHD affect ours, and how that really connects into setting us off on the wrong foot straight away, if you like. And which is just through my experience of ADHD, my son's experience of ADHD, my dad's experience of ADHD. So yeah,
Yeah,
keep
that's
keep an eye out for that one.
generational.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
awesome, and you've definitely come a long way, and it's been a pleasure having you on the
Yeah,
episode.
thank you for
And
having me. Yeah, no, really appreciate it, Ron. Great to meet you, and keep up the good work. Again, you've got some great podcasts out there. So yeah,
thank
I
you.
learned a lot from it myself. So yeah,
I'm blushing. Thank you. You take care.
brilliant. Thank you, Ron. Take care.
Wow. If that conversation didn't hit something deep in you, maybe you got to go back and listen again because there was a lot in there. Because what Chris shared today wasn't just about hypnotherapy. It was about liberation. We talked about how ADHD is often misunderstood, not as a disorder of attention, but as a nervous system adaptation, a subconscious response to years of masking rejection and feeling unsafe. We explored how the mind is like a computer running old software built on trauma, and how that programming creates patterns like self sabotage, people pleasing, and imposter syndrome. But more importantly, we talked about rewriting it, that you're not broken, you're coded for survival. And now you get to choose a new story. And if you want to take that next step and experience that transformation for yourself, just connect with Chris at his web link, www.developlink.com, and will be in the show notes. And as promised, I want to give you something that could make a massive difference in your business and your peace of mind. If you're an entrepreneur or business leader with ADHD and you keep hitting invisible walls, starting strong but not finishing, burning out, or feeling like you're always putting out fires instead of building something sustainable, I created a guide just for you. The 7 Deadly Habits that sabotage entrepreneurs with ADHD. These are the hidden habits that quietly steal momentum, profit, and self trust that nobody is talking about. But once you name them, you can outsmart them and reclaim your creativity, consistency, and confidence. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, download the guide now at youradhdguy.com. That's youradhdguy.com. Grab that guide, rebuild your rhythm. Let's create something that lasts. And next week, you do not want to miss this one. I'm sitting down with Alicia Lee, licensed counselor, powerhouse of faith, and the heart behind Alicia's Space, Counseling and Authentic Conversation of Healing podcast. We're talking about how faith, therapy, and community can work together to move you from pain to purpose. If you've ever felt like your healing journey left your faith behind, or like your faith community couldn't hold your mental health, this one was built for you. Because sometimes the most sacred thing we can do is tell the truth and still believe we're loved. Until then, be kind to your subconscious. It's been working overtime to protect you. Now it's your turn to protect it. And as always, subscribe and may the source be with you.